Hey third graders, welcome to Module 5, Lesson 18. Today we're going to compare fractions and whole numbers on the number line by reasoning about their distance from 0. This word distance right here is how far one thing is from another. So today when we look at our number line, we're going to be thinking about 0 as our starting point. Kind of like, when you draw on a ruler and you start at 0 and you go to 1. And we're going to be seeing how far fractions are from 0 to be able to tell which fraction is greater than, less than, equal to, etc. All right, so please go ahead and draw this on your notes. Press pause and press play when you're done. You notice that we have divided the number line into thirds. And I'd like you guys to go ahead and make labels for those thirds with the fractions, and also make your label for 0 as well. All right, so you should be thinking that this is 0 thirds, 1 thirds, 2 thirds, 3 thirds, or 1 whole. So we're gonna box that puppy in. Which of these fractions is the furthest distance from 0? So if little Ninja Man was walking this number line, would 1/3 be further for him from 0? Would 2/3 be further for him from 0? Or would 3/3 be further from him from 0? Which one is the furthest away from 0? Or the greatest distance? Yeah, it'd be 3/3. 3/3 is the furthest from 0 on the part of the number line that we're showing. So by thinking about this, we can know that 3/3 is the greatest, 2/3 is less than 3/3, but more than 1/3, and 1/3 is the smallest fraction that we're showing on our number line right now. Where would 1/6 be on this number line? So 1/6, remember, is half of 1/3. So remember, 1/6 is half of 1/3. You need 2 1/6 to make a third. So where would that make it on the number line? Yeah, it'd be halfway through right here. So 1/6 would be right here. So now, which fraction is closest to 0? Yeah, 1/6 is closest to 0 now. Notice I'm not saying 0/3 is closest to 0 because 0/3 is the same way as saying 0. So these are the same number right here. So 1/6 is now closest to 0. Which is the furthest from 0 still? Yeah, it would still be 3/3. Can you label the rest of the sixths on here? Go ahead and try, press pause and press play, but here's my hint to you. After you divide the number line in sixths, you might need to write one of the sixths on the same line as one of the thirds. So go ahead and try it, press pause and press play when you're done. All right, so here's what your new number line should look like with your sixths labeled. This is pretty cool because we start to see that sometimes when you have smaller fractions, they make up the same amount as the larger fraction. So here, 2/6 is the same distance from 0 as 1/3. So 2/6 is equal or equivalent to 1/3. Which other equivalent fractions do you see on here, or fractions that are equal to each other? Yeah, 4/6 is the same amount as 2/3, and 6/6 is the same amount as 3/3, which makes sense because 6/6 and 3/3 both represent a whole. You can check this with your fraction kit as well by getting out 4/6 and comparing it to 2/3, 6/6 and comparing it to 3/3. You should have the same amount on both of those. On your notes, draw another number line from 0 to 1. Then please divide it up into 4 equal pieces. So remember fourths, you divide it in half, and then each half is the same as 2/4. So cutting a half in half gives you a fourth. And now I'm going to give you this problem right here, and I want you to tell me which one is greater than or less than, or even if they're equal to, and how you could use your number line to help you find that. So in this circle right here, you'd put your greater than, your less than, or your equal to. What you should have done was labeled your fourths. So I have 0/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, or 1 whole, and we'll box in our whole to make it stand out. And then I can find where 1/4 is, and 3/4, and 3/4 is greater than 1/4. Could you tell that without looking at the number line? Without looking at the number line, you would notice that both of the pieces are the same size, but we have a different amount of 1/4. So here we have 3 1/4 pieces. Here we only have 1 1/4 piece, so 3/4 would be greater. Draw another number line from 0 to 1 on your paper. And this time I would like you to find out which one's greater, 1/2 or 3/4. So notice that you're going to have to draw where your halves are and where your fourths are because the pieces are different sizes. Go ahead and label your halves and your fourths. Press pause and press play when you're done. I put my half obviously in half. From the problem before, I remember that half of a half is a fourth. So I'm going to cut each of my halves in half. So here I have, I forgot to label my endpoints here. So 0 halves and 2 halves. And then I have 0/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. If your paper is looking a little cluttered because you don't have different colors like I do, you can circle the different denominator fractions. So like we could circle our fourths to make them look different than our halves. So now we can determine which one it has a greater distance from 0. So if Ninja was going a half, he would stop here at 1/2. And if Ninja was going to 3/4, he would stop here at 3/4. So 3/4 is greater than 0 because it's got a further distance from 0. Here's your final problem. Please make your number line 0 to 1, and then you're going to figure out which fraction is the greater distance from 0. So you're going to label your thirds and your sixths, and then figure out which one is greater than, less than, or even if they're equal to each other. Figure that out, label your number line, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.